Welcome. This is what is happening on the Sun today, the 1st of July 2011. 231 years ago this day, Lexell's comet passed closest to the Earth. At its closest approach, the head of the comet was 4 times the size of the Moon, and its tail stretched across 40 degrees of the sky. Today's trivia question is, how close did the comet come to the Earth? 20,000 kilometers, 200,000 kilometers, or 2 million kilometers? The answer will be given at the end. From the GOES 15 X-ray monitor, we see that we've only had a few minor B flares in the last 24 hours. But note, these are relatively impulsive flares, which again would indicate there's some growth going on somewhere. So let's go find out where it's coming from. There are now 3 sunspot regions visible on the disk of the Sun. Region 1242 has continued to grow, although I think that growth rate has slowed. Region 1243 is becoming quite an impressive little region. There's a new region growing near Sun's centre that isn't numbered as yet, and will probably be called 1244. So any one of these 3, or any combination of these 3, could be producing the low level of flaring activity that we've seen. So let's take a look at the HMI movies and see what the development of these regions looks like over the last 48 hours. You can see clearly the sunspots developing in the white light movie, and the magnetic movie shows that these regions are both getting larger and stronger. But note, we have no major regions in the southern hemisphere at all. In the transition region movie from the AIA instrument, we see that there's a magnificent eruption off of the southeast limb, and potentially another one about to happen in a prominence off the southwest limb. I've produced a magnified movie of these regions so you can see the details more clearly. First, the one off the southeast limb. Initially it looks as though there's nothing there, but slowly you see the prominence start to rise and then become very dynamic and eventually lift off. Note how beautifully twisted the magnetic fields are as they erupt. So this would be another example that supports our hypothesis about the eruption of prominences, that when they start to rise and become very dynamic, they are very likely to lift off. The one in the southwest has not yet lifted off, but is a candidate for this because again we see the prominence rising and becoming very dynamic. So our hypothesis would predict that this one is likely to erupt fairly soon. So we'll be able to test that tomorrow. I don't know what's causing all the pointing jitter in these particular movies, but that should be taken out by the processing. I'll have a word with the NASA folks when I get a chance. In the Soho coronagraph movies, we don't see the eruption off the southeast limb because they're running a few hours behind the other data from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. But we do see a coronal mass ejection heading off the northeast limb, but it's at such a high latitude and is relatively faint, so I don't think it's going to affect the Earth. From the ACE data we see that the temperature, speed and density of the solar wind has all increased in the last 24 hours. So we might be entering that high-speed solar wind stream that I talked about yesterday already. The NOAA 15 data shows that both the north and south auroral zone is very agitated at the moment, so that would be consistent with the increase in the solar wind speed. So in summary then, the sunspot number is at 34, the X-ray background is at B1, radio sun flux is at 89 solar flux units, the solar wind speed is increased to 420 kilometers per second with a density of over 7 protons per cubic centimeter, and the KP index is varying between 0 and 4, which ranges from quiet to unsettled. Again, I don't see any reason to change my forecast. There is still a possibility of C flares. M and X flares, although, remain very unlikely. The sunspot number is low, although it may increase with the growth of these new regions. Coronal mass ejections are possible, if not likely. The reason I say that is because if you noticed in the helium-304 movie, there was a snake-like prominence wending its way through the 3 active regions that we have on the disk at the moment. If any one of those destabilize and that thing lifts off, that's going to head straight at the Earth. But the chance of getting a major geomagnetic storm in the next 24 hours is quite low. However, with the increase in the solar wind speed, we may get some minor aurora at high latitudes. From the composite coronal movie, we see that there are a couple of minor regions behind the east limb due to come over in the next 2 or 3 days. However, they seem to have gotten fainter over the last couple of days, and so there may not be a great deal of activity from them. We'll see when they get onto the disk. If you want more information about what's going on the Sun, follow some of the links in the description box below. If you want to see earlier editions of the Sun Today, go to my channel and they are all listed there. The answer to the trivia question was 2 million kilometers. which in cosmic terms is a very close miss. However, other interesting facts about the Lascelles comet is it actually should be called Messier's comet, for he was the first and last person to see the comet. So that's it for today. Keep safe. Bye for now.